Terror on the Tube.
Welcome to Terror on the Tube, where we watch and discuss horror and suspense made for TV movies from the 70s, 80s, and at least twice now, the 1990s. I am Gilman Joel, and I am joined, as always, by Pumpkinhead Peter.
Hello.
And I was going to say the inimitable. Is that the right way to say that? Inimitable? You can't imitate. The inimitable horror unicorn, a.k.a. Allyson.
Except no substitutes.
Say inimitable like Daffy Duck says it.
Yeah. You're inimitable.
Yeah.
You're despicable. That was Sylvester. That was Sylvester, wasn't it? That was more Sylvester the cat.
Yeah, that sounded a little bit more like Sylvester.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of like to be fair, I feel like Mel Blanc was phoning that in a little bit between those two characters because they kind of sound the same when you think about it. Daffy and Sylvester pretty much sound the same.
Yeah, and fun characters, both of them.
But that's why we're here, kids. We are here to talk about, this is our end of I guess at this point, we're not really doing it like a season anymore. So, but the bonus episode where we talked about a movie that we've, at least on some level, probably all seen, but it's been a minute. We are finally, it has happened. Allyson, what are we covering?
I saw what you did.
I don't know who you are.
Yep. So we're doing the 1965 I Saw What You Did, the William Castle movie, which is not a TV movie, to be fair. But the reason why it justifies it to be on the show is we are also doing the 1988 remake of that as well. So we'll probably do a little bit on the original, and then we'll maybe spend the line here.
It's not really a remake because it's based on a novel. So
that's true. That adheres to it's totally fine. It has a different medium source material. So quote unquote, have as many versions of it as you want to, because it's not like you're rewriting the book. You're using the book as your, and I will say this, and I don't want to give anything away. I had never seen the original before. I think we had established that at some point. I thought I had said that, but maybe not. But the 88 version I had seen as a kid when it came out, about the time you turned 20, Peter. I was 12, and my mom had loved. Yeah, this was. I think my mom had loved the original because it came out in 65, right? So she would have been about 14, so she was close to the age of the girls were in the movie.
Of me being born.
There you go. So my mom is only 14 years older than you.
When was she born?
Wow. 51.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow. Woo. Sorry. Hopefully my mom never hears this. She'll be like, you little son of a... But
you kind of aged me.
Well, that's true. But basically she was like, it was like, I don't remember what channel it was on. I'm sure you'll get into this in the synopsis, but I remember her talking up the 80 when the 88 one was coming on. She was kind of excited about it, wanted to watch it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm 12 and it's a kind of horror thriller vibe. She told me kind of the high level what it was about. And so I remember liking it. But here's the thing. I have not seen this movie since 1988. This is the first time I've gotten to watch it since, which is cool because it's a hard movie to find. But before we get into all that.
Oh, well, yeah, it is. But not on YouTube, though. But
we'll get into where they can find it.
Yes.
But Peter.
Yeah.
Okay, so I Saw What You Did. This was originally aired on CBS.
The 88 one, right?
The 88 version, yes.
Yep.
Oh, which are we starting with?
No, we could start with the synopsis for the 88 because that's the TV movie, and then we'll talk about the William Castle one and then segue into.
Okay. Let's see. It was originally aired on CBS. Friday, May 20th in 1988, and the synopsis is kind of weird. Of IMDb, a group of pranksters unintentionally get the attention of a serial killer who soon starts targeting them.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm just doing something real quick.
Yeah, are we agreeing with that synopsis? It's kind of, but it's not a group of pranksters.
No.
He doesn't really start targeting them. It's just, So
I would say two bored teenage girls
making prank calls and getting
yes,
exactly.
This does that thing that I think some of my favorite horror movies do, which is it's in a way a morality tale, right? Where it's like, hey kids, if you go, much like Friday the 13th, if you go into the woods, have sex, drink alcohol, do drugs, you're dead. And this is if you randomly prank call people.
I mean, this is not even with stranger danger getting into the stranger's car. This is her getting into the stranger's apartment.
Yes, it is. It is.
What were you thinking?
So I want to kick this over to Allyson, because Allyson, you are the one that had seen the William Castle one.
I had.
And you were a fan.
Mm-hmm. I love William Castle just in general.
Yes.
So I think, I saw the original probably about 5 or 6 years ago, because I just rented from our local video store. Shout out to Movie Madness. I rented a compilation DVD that had like 5 William Castle movies on it, and that was on there. So I'd never seen it before, and I was like, oh, this is one I've never seen. So I checked it out, and I thought it was pretty fun and good suspense. And then somehow, possibly through just like randomly doing a Google search about it or something, found that there was a TV movie version from the 80s, which I did not see as a kid. And then I checked that out afterwards.
So you had you seen the 88 version before we did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you, Peter? Had you seen either of these?
I think I've seen bits and pieces of the William Castle one, because watching it this time, I seem to remember like bits and pieces. And the other one, I mean, because it was out on video here, and that's where you can find a video of it, apparently.
Apparently the only place, yeah.
Yeah. So, somewhere, I mean, 88, 89, when it was you probably rented it. I didn't remember much about it, though. But so I've seen the 88 version back when you watched it, apparently, in 88. So, yeah, bits and pieces of the William Castle. I like William Castle, so... Mm-hmm. Or his movies, anyway.
Well, speaking of Mr. Castle, so this is the 65. And actually, they look more terrifying than the killer, if I'm being honest with you. That look on their
face looks. Yeah.
That's terrifying. So I assume the answer will probably be no, but I want to just verify this. Has anybody read the book or no?
No.
Nope.
So you guys don't know how the book plays out, or okay? Mm-mm. Because I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like probably the 88 version may be truer to the book. Because the reason I always say that is because the Joan Crawford character in this, especially, felt very, we've got Joan Crawford. Let's modify another character who we'll get into in the 88 version, who I assume originally it was.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you have Joan Crawford, but I mean, John Ireland and Leif Erikson are not, and even John Archer are, I mean, they're not low hitters.
No, but I'm just saying, like, her even being in this movie felt weirdly like shoehorned in, is where I'm going with it. Like,
that could be possible, because I know William Castle worked with her on the movie, I think it's Homicidal, which is a really fun, campy...
Straight Jacket.
Straight Jacket. Oh, Homicidal's the one, the Psycho ripoff. Sorry. Straight Jacket. Yeah. So she... And I remember hearing that behind the scenes that she was just really concerned about her age and being on screen and how she appeared. And so he was very accommodating to whatever she wanted. And so I think he was just excited to work with her. So he gave her whatever she wanted. So it's totally possible that he was just like, well, I want to work with her again, or she's interested in doing something, so let's shoehorn in this character. So I don't really know. It's totally likely, but I don't know that that's...
But do you know what I mean? Like, it felt like a weird thing where so for those, and obviously we will be spoiling both these movies. Now, I will say that
the original novel came out in 1964. It's called Out of the Dark by Ursula Curtis, but there's a screenplay. The screenplay written for this 1965 version was based on that novel. So I haven't read it, so it's, I don't know.
I will say
her character does make sense in this one, Joan Crawford.
Her character seems like something you would have seen in other movies at that time that are kind of
That's what I mean. That's what I feel
throwback noir,
Yes.
like the desperate older woman who has money and she wants to keep this man who's not interested in her, and she's kind of a control freak. I mean, it
feels like that, but it doesn't. It feels. How can I put this? I feel like I could see them doing that for the movie. And again, I don't know because I've not read the book, but I feel as if it just. I think the reason why it felt so clunky to me is because the way it starts off with this guy, and obviously I think it's his wife, right? That he ends up killing at first. Yeah. Which, by the way,
the murder is actually pretty brutal.
Yeah, actually, especially for the time. Yeah. The IMDb, which I think that's the one you read, right? Right, Peter? The synopsis.
For the 88 version.
That's the one that's going along the bottom of the screen is for the 88 version, and I do find him to be a serial killer. It's like, okay, the guy was a wackadoo, but he wasn't a serial killer per se. Yeah,
and a group of pranksters. It's
like 3 of them. I guess it's a group because it's not 2. But anyway, I thought, okay, so I guess what I'm driving at is he kills his wife. The implication, I thought, was that his wife was leaving him because he was having an affair with this neighbor played by Joan Crawford, who was older than him. It just felt weird that she was the neighbor, and like so that way they could keep her close by. It just felt very sort of. It felt like her character was plot device rather than. Yeah, I know. An organic outgrowth of like.
I see what you're getting.
I'm not even sure if they were really having an affair or if she just always been
liked him,
overly sweet on him, and he was aware of it. And then he's in this situation, so now it's of his benefit to make her think that he's interested. So yeah, I don't know. It honestly didn't bother me. Like it just seemed. The story seemed of its time. It just seemed, and then watching how they handled the story
added more craziness.
If people haven't watched this yet, and I recommend that you do because these are good movies. Yes. We're talking about there's a killer in this, and we're talking about the killer and his like who he kills and who's also involved in his life. And so there's the Joan Crawford character in the original who's his neighbor, who's kind of hounding him and pressuring him and trying to like control him. And then instead of her character in the 1988 version, you get an older brother who's coming to check in on the main guy, who's the target of the phone calls, who's the killer, who's killed his girlfriend. But it honestly felt like the 88 version felt like, oh, they updated this to make it make more sense in this time. Yes. And the 65 felt like it made sense for a 1965 movie, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I will say, so I enjoyed the 65 version. I liked it. I liked it for what it was. It's very much of its time. And I think the one knock on it that I would have is that both of the main girls are such goodies that you don't have that juxtaposition. So the reason why I think the 88 version works better from a narrative perspective is because the Tammy Lauren character is the bad girl, and then the Shawnee Smith character.
And it's a kind of a switcheroo from this one.
Yeah, definitely. But I would say too, in the 60s, if you have girls who are quote unquote bad girls and they are getting into trouble regularly, or they're more worldly, or maybe just more like sexualized as teenagers, then there were just Hollywood rules. Like you had to punish those girls, especially if this was going to be seen kind of by kids, because kids liked William Castle movies. Yeah. So it's just like, this is kind of a suspense movie that's supposed to be family friendly. And if you make those girls too wild and then they get out relatively unscathed at the end, then they're not properly punished for being bad girls, like.
Yeah. Oh, and I again, it feels very much of its time. So I'm sure that's why they did what they did. But I think that as a result, there's certain conceits within the narrative, like for instance, towards later in the movie where there's a radio reporter, I think it was on the radio for the original, where it's the whole thing about like describing the killer. And it's like based on he's in his 40s, tall with dark hair,
brown hair.
Of course, it's the same guy. You know what I mean? It's like that kind. Whereas because of the choices that they allowed the characters to make in the 88 version, And because she's watching it on TV and she hears the name, and it's like the connection of logic makes more sense, I think, within the 88 version. It's a totally, and I think this proves the point, which is, if I'm being honest with you, and somebody said, well, how would you do that today? Because, with smartphones but I think there's enough like technologies to counter like smartphones with like cloning and being able to hide your number and stuff like that. Well, I know people don't prank call as much as they used to.
I think that instead of prank calling, if you're going to tell this story today, it would be two young girls decide to catfish some people.
Yeah.
See what happens. Yeah. Like I think and I also my biggest, this takes me out of the realism for both movies, is how old the girls are supposed to be. If they're old enough to be learning how to drive or have a driver's license, I feel like they are not doing phone pranks, because we did phone pranks as kids. Yeah. I was 11.
Like little kid. Yeah, I was like 11,
I was like
12.
10, 11 years
maybe
old.
13, 14, maybe.
Yeah,
if you have access to a car, you're not doing this.
Yeah.
You're doing other things.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Now, I could see the whole damn driving to go see him. That I buy.
Sure. Yeah. But
again, I mean,
so weird.
Would you? I don't know. Would you do that?
Well, I didn't say it was smart, but I also.
No, but again,
we were never like, oh, let's call people and see if their voices sound cute when we were kids. We were like, let's just mess with people. It wasn't about like, let's find a guy for the shy friend. And that's so. And in both movies, the girls are really excited about a random stranger.
Yeah.
Well, so weird.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The reason why that's doubly stupid for the 88 version is, by that point, there have been enough things between serial killers and like, dead
stranger
kids, stranger danger, all that stuff was heavy into play. So you're like, well, I kind of feel like they would have been a little bit more streetwise. Like even if they're not, even if there's a naivete with the Shawnee Smith character, they'd be a little bit more.
This kind of takes the blind date version a tad too far.
Yeah.
In both versions, basically.
Yeah.
So
these girls are crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. There's definitely an issue with both of their life choices. So Peter, what about you? Like you said, you had not seen. You had seen.
I seem to remember bits and pieces of the 65 version, so I don't know if I've seen all of it or just snippets here and there.
And you said the 88 version, though.
Yeah, way back. I remember
way back.
Not much, but I think I've seen it once. We rented it, so this is kind of new on both.
All right, so I mean, from your perspective, what which one did you have? One you preferred more than the other one?
Yes. Uh-oh. You want me to spill that already?
I think I'll know. I bet I could guess.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you like the 65 version better.
Damn it. Am I that transparent?
No, I just feel like I've known.
Yeah, I mean, many people know that I love the classics, the old black and whites, and I don't know. I felt that there were things in this that I kind of liked more. And I can't really, we can get into.
I could tell you a couple of things I loved about the 65 version. I love the opening.
Atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere is amazing in it.
Yes.
The way it's shot.
Yeah, it's really.
I love the set of the house that they're at is so great. I was just like, I would live there so easily.
It's a cool house.
No people around.
The countryside around it looks like a spooky painting, like it could be a background in Scooby-Doo. And then
the real thick fog, the way it was coming. Yeah.
The whole intro sequence where the girls are on the phone planning their night
and it looks like eyes walking. Yeah.
I love that so much. Like it's really well thought out. It's really fun. I feel like it's a little slow in places.
Yeah.
But it's really well made and like fun to, if you like 60s movies, or especially if you're like looking for like a spooky night in. And last night it was kind of rainy and overcast, which is always, I don't like it when it's been that way for a while, but when you have like a little break in the middle of, early summer, it's just like, oh, this is kind of cozy. I'm going to bake something and watch this movie. And it's perfect for that.
Yeah. It definitely would be a good fall movie. You know what I mean? Like you're not quite Halloween, but you're getting there, and it's cool, like a coolness in the air. Like you said, like something's baking, and you're just kind of cuddled up. And that's a great one. Actually, and I was surprised. My wife actually really loved this one too. My kids they liked it, but I don't think they did think that some of the stuff was kind of hilarious, like how dumb the girls were.
I love the little sister.
Yes, the little sister
in
great.
Both actually.
Yes. Candace Cameron from Full House is the little girl in the second, or the 88 version. Who is the girl in the first one? Was the actress? It's
Cheryl Locke.
Cheryl Locke, which there's no picture.
And
no
in both versions, the little sister is just a great character, and she's really funny, and she's down for mischief, and she's excited that the older girls are doing things. And
I mean, think about it. She's probably bored too.
Yes.
There's a house, and there's not really.
I love it when the little sister in both movies makes a prank call herself, and then she is pretending that she got left somewhere and is trying to get picked up by one of her parents and doesn't have any more change, which actually happened to me when I was about 7. So I was like, I've been that little girl, but it was just so funny that she could just turn it on and manipulate an adult. Yeah. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah. And then just give a random number for them to call.
Yeah.
Well, I did love, because that seemed like something a little kid would do. She ended up giving them her actual number.
Yeah, in the original,
and like you panic. You're like, what number do I know? I did love too that I don't remember them doing this in the 65 version, but they definitely did the 88 version, where they do the 555. That was the go-to, and you never started with
you don't really. Back in the day, you didn't really have those numbers.
You had like 4. There were like 4 or 5. Yeah. They would.
You kind of call the phone operator, and they
exchange.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think it's funny. By the time you get into certainly the 80s, I don't know if they did in the 70s as much, but definitely the 80s into the 90s, you have all these movies with the 5 numbers. Which, I always heard that there was like an agreement made with the telephone companies that nobody would have the 555 numbers, so they could use that.
Yeah, and that's what I always. Yeah.
That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard.
You know what I like about this? Because I almost felt like this 65 version was more brutal than the 88 version, and again, it's made in 65. Because going back to the murder in the shower, he pulls his wife in. And he's stabbing her, and it's not. I mean, it goes on for some time. Yeah,
it's actually shocking for the time period. Yeah,
well,
Then you go back to when he's in the house at the end, and he throws the knife at the little girl. I was like, "What are you doing?"
Well, this is a theatrical release versus something on TV in the 80s. So
there's that.
I feel like that might be.
I will say this, and I'm curious to get. I have a feeling I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask anyway. So John Ireland, right? Which I know the name. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Yes,
the 207 credit. I love that. That's the first thing you go to.
No, I mean that's it because I like that movie.
Okay, that's great, dude. But nobody knows My Darling Clementine, except for
you. Kidding?
I know that title, like Spartacus. Spartacus is at least considered like this. All the King's Men. Those are movies that Red River
is not the version you think of.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like Red River. I know Red River. But you go to My Darling Clementine.
Click on My Darling Clementine.
He was in Waxwork 2, Lost in Time.
Ooh, is that one good? Because I really like the first one.
I haven't seen it in years. It's not as good as the original, but I remember liking it. I remember liking it. All right, so you may have noticed a little glitch there in the middle of the episode. It's because one of us...
Because Joel was mocking me for
My Darling Clementine. Yes. And basically, he got with his buddy Thor, and from Valhalla they sent a lightning bolt that apparently hit very close to my house, and I lost all power, and I'm running off of a phone right now, so we'll see how this goes. It was
that close?
It was pretty close, apparently. And when my internet goes down, it really goes down. So we will not have IMDb or anything else open because I don't want to tempt fate, since I'm running this off of a phone hotspot right now. I have never done that before with StreamYard. So we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
So we were mocking Peter about using My Darling Clementine.
We were talking about John Ireland.
Okay.
Who has 307
and I actually, after all of that, remember what I was going to say, which was, I guess I found, so the difference to me, I actually like the David Carradine killer better. because he's so unstable. This guy is like your cold, calculating sociopath. And he seems like just an opportunist, whereas the David Carradine character from the 88 version is so much
David
more.
Carradine.
Does it? Robert Carradine, right? David's the brother. Yeah, Robert's who I meant. Yeah. Lewis from Revenge of the Nerds. He is far more unstable and unpredictable in a way than this other guy. Like the fact that, for instance, in the 65 version, John Ireland's character, when he realizes, oh, these are just kids, they're playing a game, and he's like, okay, I'll just go. Now, even though he hangs back to hear what they're saying, like if they just shut up and gone to bed, he would have left. He would have left. No harm, no foul. But the Carradine character wouldn't have. Like that guy
because he was not so city.
Yeah, he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and he was, I also like the reveal with him. That is like you found out that he like presumably killed his parents in some arson thing, and
so he was an arsonist.
Well, when the 88 version opens, we're watching a film or a clip or something that he made for his job because he works in a studio, and you get the impression he's mostly a sound guy, but he did this like edited together thing, and they're looking at it in a screening room without him, and they're just like. The guy who is his boss, I guess, is just like, what is
firing
this?
Him.
It's really ridiculous and weird, and it's like all like dark imagery and stuff. So it's supposed to
it's very pretentious art film.
It's pretty fun. It kind of makes me laugh a little bit, but it's fun because you're immediately like, I guess it's like a window into the mind of this killer we're going to be following along with.
Because if you like horror, kids, or anything weird, you're obviously a psycho. That's the message of the movie. Yeah. Yeah, no, they do that, and I definitely. Here's the thing: I will tell you that I know what you did. I know what you did. Here I go. How many times we should do a drinking game? How many times I actually say I know what you did last summer?
Right.
I saw what you did. The 65 version. I definitely like the 65 better opening better. Like what you were talking about earlier with the eyeballs and all that. Way better. Way more creative. I think they were trying to get us in Robert Carradine's character's head, but we don't know that's who made that at that point. So it's just confusing. You're like, okay, this is weird. What's happening?
Yeah, there's a scene in the 88 version where you see kind of his shadow where he's talking, and then it kind of fades out. And as a start, you don't really see him, and you just see him making the music and stuff. You don't really see him up close. You see him kind of in the distance.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a different way of presenting the character, I suppose.
Yeah. So
I will say that with the 65 version, the ending was kind of weird. Where
they both had weird endings.
Yeah, but all of a sudden they kind of start. No, it's like they get a little bit of a scolding. Don't do that again. Oh, well, we won't do the prank calls. And then the upbeat music starts, and then the camera falls out.
Like William Castle movie. I mean, if you watch the original 13 Ghosts, that has a very lighthearted, like fun tone throughout it. In the midst of really dark things happening, and it kind of ends like, oh, ha, everyone's fine, we're really rich, and then it's like, then you hear ghost moaning, and all the ghosts are making their appearance, like, oh, we're still here. But I love that movie so much. But it's very William Castle's thriller movies, other than like I would say Straight Jacket and Homicidal, are meant to be just like really pulpy and scary and not necessarily for kids, but the ones that involve kids seem to have this like dark Disney live action Disney vibe,
that's
which
really
I love about them.
Yeah, that's right. That's a really good way of putting it. That's exactly what it is.
Like I would watch 13 Ghosts, and then I would watch like, not that it's a Disney movie, but Ghosts and Mr. Chicken, like
that vibe.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good vibe. So I think too, the other, and again, I think, and I feel like we all can agree on this. The script for the 88 version is there's more, even though some of the things the characters, the choices they make seem like ridiculous, but ridiculous if you're an adult. To a teenager, sure, I buy that a kid would do that. And I feel like there's more logic in the 88 version. So for instance, in the 65 version, the cop aspect, right? So you have that cop show up. Now I get why he shows up initially because the parents. That's the other thing is I actually liked how this one they feel very disconnected from when the dad leaves. Like it feels like they're alone. Whereas the other one, we keep cutting back and forth to the parents at this. I guess are they going to do like an all-night dinner party? I don't even know what that was about. Why were they
kind of a dinner party, a business thing, and
but they were going to go on all night. It was weird. Like it wasn't like they were in a hotel. It wasn't like they were just somebody's house.
No, they were somebody's house. Yeah,
it felt weird.
I don't know. It
felt weird to me. But in fact, they kept trying to call.
They were going to probably get their cocktail on, and they didn't want to drive.
Maybe they were.
I don't know.
It was like the 65 version of Swingers.
Maybe.
Like they were like swing. They were a part of a swinging club.
Okay.
You never know. Subtext. No. But basically, I thought I get the cop showing up initially. I mean, obviously, the Chekhov's stuck door, where obviously that's going to come into play when they're in the bar and the door gets stuck. It's like, oh, gee, what a shock. That's going to totally come into play. I will say, though, they did it in a way you don't expect. Right? I assumed the door getting stuck would come into play by the end when the killer shows up. But obviously, it's what explains to the parents, like, oh, we were trapped in the barn. That's why we didn't answer the phone. Exactly. Not we were out going to a potential killer's house. So
we're doing all the things you're worried about.
Yeah, exactly. You're totally justified in every way, shape, or form. We are malcontents. But I think that cop shows up initially fine. But the fact that he's there at the end is so like Deus Ex Machina. It's like, really, bruh? Like, you're really going to be there. Whereas the 88 version established that kind of hippie vet guy who's selling stuff out of his van. Who gives it that? He was very
Mango Man?
Yeah, he's very, Mango Man. He doesn't do the whole Ralph from Friday the 13th, you're doomed. He doesn't do that, but he's got that kind of vibe to him. So
I wrote that down. Mango Man to the rescue.
Yeah. But him showing up again feels more natural, like because he might have just been staying in his van nearby. He would have seen the fire. That would drive him to show up. You know what I mean? Like that kind of logic makes way more sense to me than this cop happening to show up when he does. It's very convenient. So it's stuff like that.
It's William Castle logic.
Yeah, look, let me make sure we're clear on this. I love the William Castle version. I like the kind of campiness of it. I love the look of it. I love the feel of it. I love the vibe of it. But as a movie, I like the 88 version better from a logical storytelling standpoint.
Okay.
Plus, obviously, I have a little bit of like a C&D thing going. I may or may not have had a thing for Shawnee Smith back in the day. And
I kind of know you did.
Yeah, well, that is the same year that The Blob comes out, which I was also, which actually we just watched because I covered it on Jay the Dead show. I watched it with my kids; they hadn't seen it yet, and
I need to see the 80s Blob. I've
never seen that.
I've only seen the original Blob.
Oh, you've got to see the 88 Blob.
Okay.
It's so good. It's like it is to the 50s Blob what John Carpenter's Thing is to the original Thing.
Okay,
so it's like that.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's that much more extreme too. Like it's The Blob. It's got all the 50s kind of vibes to it, the small town quaintness, all that stuff. But it definitely has like the awesome kick-ass 80s over the top effects.
That sounds really fun, actually.
Yeah, you'll dig it. I think you will totally.
I would like
Peter,
that.
You've seen that, right? You've seen the 88 Blob.
I always just forget it exists. I don't know why. I'm always like, oh,
well, it didn't do that well. It actually didn't do that well at the box office. It's a damn travesty because that movie is.
I mean, it didn't bomb though, but it did.
No, it pretty much bombed. You go back and look.
Okay.
Yeah, over here it did. It was like it had a budget. I'm making this part up because I don't want to open IMDb and jinx myself here. I think it was like a $12 million budget, which at 88 was meh. It's okay, but then it only made like half its money. It was something crazy. It really did. It did do great. But all that being said, it's held up. It was kind of like The Thing, right? John Carpenter's The Thing, kind of the same thing, right? It didn't do that great. Yeah. Critics hated it at the time. Oh, this is not like the original, blah, blah, blah.
And now it's kind of like it's a cult favorite. Like,
yes, and so is
The Blob.
I will say, I think, depending on my mood, the 88 Blob is in my top 10 80s horror films.
Oh, okay.
That's how much I love it. I really love that movie a lot. It's fun. It's got this whole kind of crazy subplot that I don't want to give anything away, where you may or may not be able to actually trust the government, which is just crazy talk. And in 88, by the way, it actually kind of was because we were still kind of high on the whole Reagan era like rah vibe. So there's elements of, I don't want to give anything away, but in the 88 Blob that is sort of again it's more Mulder Scully than it is Iron Eagle, which I love Iron Eagle, but it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. It's a different tone for the time. So I think you got to watch that. I think I would love to hear your thoughts on that movie.
I will watch that. No, it sounds like a fun summer watch.
It is, yes, it is 100%. So the other thing about, not only did I, and actually I really like Tammy Lauren too, and she's one of those actresses. So she's the bad girl, that gets Shawnee Smith to do the stuff. But I actually like that they gave her enough development. Like, you get the sense of why she's rebellious. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you still kind of like these girls are not the brightest pick of them.
No.
Well, I think Shawnee Smith is naive.
No,
and I think Tammy Lauren's kind of self-destructive. So it makes sense why they do the things they do.
Tammy Lauren is, I feel like, playing a very similar character to the character she plays in The People Across the Lake, which came out a year after this.
Yes, and you know what's so funny?
Especially pre-lake part, when she's just like showing up in the midst of all the chaos at her family's house, and she has this attitude, and her mom's just like, she's going down the tubes, and so I feel like it was just like, I don't know if she got typecast, but they were like, we need
as
a teenager,
as the rebellious teenage daughter.
Too cool for school. So here we're going to have Tammy Lauren. And I also add, in both this and The People Across the Lake, it ends with a house fire. So
that's true.
Maybe Tammy Lauren wants to come hang out. Maybe say no.
Yeah, your house may get burned to the ground. It's very possible.
Well, and while we're at that, did nobody seem to go get the dog that was stuck in the burning house, or did they just let the dog burn?
Yeah, they never resolved that. No, that's a good point.
Like, wait, are you never gonna what? Okay, what?
I love the dog too. I love Dobermans.
Yeah, and I like Dobermans too. And but yeah, look, I love the name Meredith, and I have a good friend named Meredith. But I will say this: weird name for a Doberman.
Yeah, I was sitting there when they were talking about me. I was like, "Who the hell is Meredith?"
Like Duchess. That's a good name for a Doberman.
Sure,
Meredith. It's so it's like naming your dog Bob. Like, okay, I mean, you could do it. It's cool. Whatever, you do you. But I don't know, man. That's a little weird to me. But I will say this: it's the dog in the '88 version. I think the one in the 65 is adorable, but it's like a little Toto-looking terrier type.
Yeah.
Who's more trouble than he's worth as far as everything goes.
But
there's no house fire in the 65 version.
Yeah,
I was thinking that. I was like, wait, are they not even gonna? They're not even contemplating rescuing Meredith, or
you're right. It's hilarious. I need to think about that. You're right. That dog died. Those people suck. They let that dog die.
Yeah.
Get your butt back in there and save your dog, who was, by the way, protecting you.
Yeah, I was waiting for it because they showed doors opening and windows. I was like, okay, the dog's going to jump out, so we're going to see that.
Yeah, you would think the dog would be right next to them when they are on the roof.
And who knows? Maybe it was meant to be like that.
I honestly think they just forgot.
That or they cut out because for time. People will assume we saved the dog.
We only have the dog on set for so many days.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, what? Wait.
Yeah.
So it just struck me as kind of, because you always see the dog.
Yes, they always got that shot where they're like, they'll do the thing where she'll somebody will bump her, like she'll look down, and there'll be a close up of the dog, and she'll be, oh, Meredith, and the little girl gives her a hug.
Yeah,
and then that's all they needed. Yeah, but no, we didn't get that.
Nope.
Never mind. I like the 65 version better.
What I liked about the 88 version too is you see David Carradine as a good guy. Up to a certain
I love that he's playing brother. He's playing a brother to his actual real life brother, which is kind of cool. Yeah,
he was the good guy, and everything. I was like, this feels so weird.
Well, to be fair, Kung Fu. He was the good guy, right?
Well, but still.
Okay, so we're resuming. So, as you could tell, the episode that we were looking so forward to doing is Mother Nature's way of saying, first you guys screw up when Michael calls. I love that you guys didn't have anything to do with it. Now you're screwed up. So I'm going to leave my video off, hoping that this is enough juice for me to at least finish out the episode with audio. Okay. So all of that being said, what I was going to say,
talk about the 88 version.
Okay, so I was gonna say, so the '88 version, you guys were talking about Robert Carradine and the fact that playing a good guy, et cetera, and he was like the brother character. Obviously, is the Joan Crawford character from the first film. That's the role he sort of plays, the one trying to figure out what this guy's up to. Again, it makes way more sense with the brother than it does with Joan Crawford's character, but we'll set that aside for a second.
And again, like I said, the reason that David Carradine's character seems more normal is because of Robert Carradine's character being as manic as he is. That's why he's well. And then again, you come to one point in this movie where David Carradine's character takes a nasty turn.
That's what I'm getting at. So at the very end of the movie, and this is a major spoiler, so for those that don't want to know this, get off now. Although, before we say this, how about this? I don't want to spoil the very, very end. Let's just say that if you do want to see this and you don't want the very, very end spoiled for you, the '88 version, I mean, there is a version, well, I think there's a couple versions on YouTube, but the Creature Features hosted version was the one that I watched. Allyson, is that what you watched as well?
Yeah, I did. And it also, if for some reason that's not your forte, there's also just a regular upload of the movie.
By the way, is it me, or and I don't know if the other one has the same look? Did it not totally look like it was upscaled using AI? The version that they showed, everybody was super smooth, and there was a couple times.
The other version on the YouTube, it does not look like that. I think they kind of upscale it maybe too much for the creature feature version. Yeah,
it definitely, you could, like when people's eyes from a little farther away, their eyes don't look right. They're almost like, it's weirdly like they're doubled. It's bizarre. So anyway, that aside. Yeah, you didn't notice that, Allyson?
Well, okay, so I've watched this a few times. So I was half working on a project because I'm prepping for a art festival and also watching / listening. So I think I just didn't. I wasn't like looking at it in a super detailed way. I actually sat down and paid more attention to the 65 version because it'd been longer since I'd seen it.
Yeah, but if you go back and look at the one on Creature Features, it definitely had been upscaled. I'm guessing the copy that's available, because again, this is not a movie you can get on DVD, to my knowledge, or Blu-ray for sure. It's available on VHS in Sweden, right, Peter? We determined that.
I think I'm gonna see if I can locate. I think they're out on X Rentals, I think.
Yeah.
So there may be a VHS version. I can at least send it to you so you can have it on the shelf. You can't watch it.
Yeah, I know. I know it cracks me up because I'm thinking, why wasn't this at least put out on VHS?
I don't know. It's so weird. When you told me that, I was like, why not? And then I looked online and I could find it here.
Yeah. So I mean, it's super strange. Must be a licensing thing. But anyway, so we get to if you do want to see it, I would advise Creature Features version, because that's what I always advise, because I love horror hosts.
It's fun. Yeah.
It is fun. Yes. And also that was one without a guest. So, and by the way, that's also the one.
Kind of extra fun.
Yes, it was, because they also, when they were doing their letter opening, and whoever it was that sent them the box of his very personal items, and you could tell that they, even though they're trying to stay in character, they're also reacting kind of very real to how bizarre the gift was that they were saying.
I thought it was a bit actually. I thought
really, I thought it was legit, and they didn't know what to do, and they decided to lean into it. But it was like a bag of croutons and a little like pickle fork that you would use for gherkins in a platter. It was just so random.
I also love because they didn't have a guest, so they were like, here's our handyman who's a character on the show. Yes. And then they're like, here's our director. Yes, our director. We had you on.
I love that the handyman guy and Tangela have that sort of like feud going back and forth. That I like those like little aspects of the show. It's fun. And I have something related to that. I have something kind of cool related to Creature Features, but I'm going to probably save it for the next time we record, because I should have it by that point. Nice. So I'll leave it as a surprise. But plus then I can also show you guys things, because I will hopefully have the capability of doing video. Anyway,
should we say it's directed by Fred Walton? Yeah. The director is Fred Walton.
Yes, who did When a Stranger Calls. And When a Stranger Calls Back.
Yeah.
And also, what was there was another pretty decent one.
I like those.
I do too.
He's on April Fool's Day.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yes.
I love April Fool's Day. That's
April Fool's Day has grown on me over the years, because I didn't used to like it as much.
But I do like it. You and Jason covered it on Forgotten Flicks.
I didn't like it that much. No, I wasn't. But then I rewatched it not that long ago. I was like, what was up my butt? That was a fun movie.
Were
I
you mad at it because you felt like
no, I knew what it was.
Twist?
I kid. I knew the twist. So it's like I don't know why sometimes you're just like in a garbage mood. You shouldn't watch a movie. I think that's what the problem was. So needless to say, I actually like it. And I love When a Stranger Calls. I always knew When a Stranger Calls. Like I knew about it. That whole like, have you checked the children? And I will say when I finally saw it for the first time fully, because I think I'd seen the first like 10 minutes or whatever back years ago. But then I saw it. They made a remake of it, if memory serves, like around 2006, I think, where Lance Henriksen.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Lance Henriksen was the voice of the killer.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember not disliking that movie that much, but I had never seen the original fully. So that I finally saw the original just a couple years ago. I liked it a lot, but it's one of those movies where it takes like this, you think it's going to mostly be the babysitter in the house with the killer. But that's really only like the first 15 minutes of the 20 minutes of the movie, and then it kind of turns into like a procedural. And then once you know who the killer is and like how you're following him around, it's a bit anticlimactic because he's so blah as a killer. He's like, oh really? Okay.
It's like kind of, I think, meant to be kind of gritty in the middle, but it drags a fair amount.
Yeah. But I love the first
15
part.
minutes are so good though.
Yeah, it's okay. And even like, the one with Joe Sholin, the sequel, which I think was a made for TV movie, but I think it was for like Showtime or something. If
When a Stranger Calls Back.
Yeah, the second one.
They had a couple of the actors from the original in it.
Yeah, I think Darrell Kane came back. Yeah,
she did.
Yeah,
she did.
But Joe Sholin was the girl at the beginning, if memory serves, on that one, and in the second one, and I think it was a Showtime release or something. I don't think it was HBO. I think it was Showtime. But I remember I liking that one, and the opening of that was pretty good too. And it's a little bit different. They do a slight different thing that happens. I don't want to give anything away. But anyway, my point is, I think Fred Walton is a really good, capable director as well. For this,
we will get back to him because there is another TV movie. I'm not going to mention anything, but we will get to him again, I think.
But that being said, so the very end of this movie, the bad guy is bested. The house is burned to the ground. Presumably, we'll be positive and say Meredith the puppy is alive.
Yeah, probably.
And
or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And yet, at the very, very end, it's Shawnee Smith who gets the call at the end, right? I'm not remembering that wrong. So they're away from all of it. It's like your classic like epilogue where but
again, they kind of they take it a little bit further in this one because the father comes back and you see them kind of sitting in the room and he kind of he kind of blames her for everything. Yeah, and to be honest, it kind of is her and the other. Well,
if they hadn't poked the bear, it would have never happened. But at the same time, this kid has just been through a hellscape of an. Look, you're a parent. I get it. You got to give her. You got to give her the. Yeah, you got to give her the parental look. Come, what the hell? That would be. By the way, he was far too stern. I'd have been like, really. Like you thought this was a good idea? Have I not shown you enough horror movies, son? Why would you do that? Would have been.
It's one thing. I mean, kids do pranks and stuff. The fact that they were just making phone calls or whatever.
That would be fine. Yeah.
Fine. Sure. Honestly, it's not a great thing to do with your time. But the fact that they basically go stalk this guy.
Well, they stole your car. They stole your car. Stalk a killer who look, it's not their fault they didn't know the guy was a killer. But the part where they would make such a stupid, but that's kids. Kids do stupid crap, and I get that. But you would have to in a.
Well, also the whole there's a whole thing where Tammy Lauren's character is giving Shawnee Smith a little makeover and telling her oh, well, you need an older man, blah, blah, blah. And it's just you couldn't make this today. Cause it's if he was actually interested in her, he'd be a sex offender.
Yeah.
Well, he is a sex offender because he killed his girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, I will say, well, I don't know would that make him a sex offender or just a
murderer?
A murderer.
But he's a messed up guy. But if he was actually, and he's not, to his credit, he's not he's trying to figure out what they know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could, because I think it's totally believable that some teenagers, girls or boys, would try to go and think they could get somebody older. So I think the way they handled it with Robert Carradine's character, I feel now would a network kind of they probably wouldn't do it. I grant you, but you could do it. It's just, I think, because I totally think it's believable that these teenage girls would think they could go get this older guy.
Oh, no, definitely. I don't think that's unbelievable at all. It just adds a whole level, like an extra
it's creep.
Like, factor.
Well, it does, like, but I feel like, yeah, I think it would be really, really icky, though, had he reciprocated. Then it would have been super icky. But the fact that he whole weird way. Go ahead, sorry.
That whole thing with them doing prank calls, sure, that's okay. And the way they take the dad's car, sure, that's okay. But you go to this guy's address.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what do you think
goes
happen?
into
so
his home,
stupid.
and her friend is fine with it and leaves.
Yes. And you, by the way, you also got your house burned down and probably your dog's dead. So I get being upset with her.
Justice for Meredith.
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag. I will say though, Meredith. I feel like after I would have at least waited to probably the morning to give her, a stern talking to, only because the kid has just literally been through hell night, and it's like, I feel like there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to not teach her the lesson better than the hell she just went through.
Yeah,
like that's the lesson, and you know that as a parent. You're like, so did we learn our lesson?
You know what? I just realized the scene in the 65 version where he throws the knife at the little girl, I was kind of taken aback at the brutality. You know what scene kind of feels, or I just thought of that? It's when Robert Carradine, what was his character's name? Adrian Lancer, where he's knocked his brother out and he's pouring gasoline over him. I
know, right? Yeah. And he's still breathing. You can see him breathing.
Yeah.
That's dark.
Those two scenes are kind of like on the same part of that where they kind of show you don't really care.
And I agree with you.
Over him, and just I was like, you're not going to burn your brother. Wait, what?
But I will say this too, and this proves a bigger point. I'm not saying this movie was written by somebody like Patty Chayefsky. Okay, this is not like high art like writing, but it's so funny the difference, even at the most basic level, that. When you, again, I know I love to do this, but you compare it to like a lot of stuff that gets written today where everything's so on the nose. The fact that they insinuate a lot and you don't even really know this guy has got like some kind of past history with arson and that he killed his parents, but he does that thing with the gas on his brother. You're like, what the hell's he? And then that comes out gradually that he did that. So it keeps upping the stakes. Like they really screwed up. Like, sure, it sucks that you interrupted a murder situation with your stupid prank calls. Yeah, but like in this case, they really screwed up. Yeah.
They hit pot, so to speak.
Probably the biggest plot device dumb thing in this one was the whole her leaving her purse behind in his apartment. Which I know they had to have a justification for finding. But I think what you could have done.
Dropped his wallet.
That's what I was thinking. You could have made it to where she goes into the bathroom, she's getting nervous, and his brother shows up while she's in the bathroom, and she's like desperately trying to fix herself up because she's freaking out, and like she pulls stuff out of her purse, and when she goes to walk out, it slips out. Like that, it's a bit of a contrivance, but I buy that more than you're gonna leave your freaking purse behind, right? Yeah. Really? I don't think so. But fine, we'll go with it. But the very, very end of this movie, so Robert Carradine is dead. She's had her stern talking to. Phone rings. You got to have that Carrie arm coming up out of the ground moment, right? Yep. But and it's a man's voice on the other end, but it's not Robert Carradine. It's another Carradine saying, "I saw what you did. You killed my brother."
But he calls her by name too.
Oh, that's right. He knows her name.
Yeah.
Which is weird. So like, okay, maybe the mental illness runs in the family. I don't know, but it's like. At first, it seems like
he was almost set on fire. So I think that kind of
his brother, though, not her.
See, this is what I was gonna say. Is that like it's weird that he's angry and holding the teenage girls responsible when one he starts to suspect something's very wrong with his brother, and that like the girlfriend might have met a bad end because he starts to poke around, and then he's trying to he does seem like he's willing to help cover that up though. Like he seems like he's just like, I'm just gonna try and keep the family together. But then when he gets knocked out and is like almost burned to death, like he he's still gonna blame the girl. I mean, I just feel like
that feels weird and tacked on.
Yeah, it felt very tacked on to me. I was like, it's fun, but I don't buy it.
I think tell me what you think about this, Allyson. What if rather than that, you have everything happen the exact same way, the phone rings and she just looks at it, and then you cut to black? You know what I mean?
I would be fine with that. She's over the phone now.
I thought kind of that was what was going to happen, but
it's like to have him, and the only way that would have worked at the end, the way they did it, would have been to better establish his also being maybe a part of like what happened to his brother. You know what I mean? Like with the parents and all that. So anyway. All that to be said, regardless, it's still a fun movie. I like them both, honestly. I like them both for different reasons. They're both fun. They're both.
I had a little bit of a problem with the new one, but I don't know. It felt, the acting between these two girls felt a little bit. I don't know. There's some scenes where they're talking and the pauses seem. I mean, that may be an editing. Maybe you should have, or the director's fault, but it felt like. Some scenes felt actually almost like a theater, like you're watching a play.
You mean in the 88 version? More than
yeah. There is some scene. It felt a little bit off the acting.
Really? See, I felt like the acting in the 88 version was more natural, but only because movies from like the 60s, especially B type pictures, you often get that more theatrical.
Yeah, it's a different kind of acting.
It's a totally different style, which I go in knowing that. It doesn't bother me.
I also just felt like because I was 8 when this movie was made and came out, like growing up in, as a kid in the 80s and 90s, these girls were a little bit, I mean, again, I feel like they were a little too old to be doing prank phone calls, but they were more relatable and because of just the era in which this was made. So I found the girls a little bit more real. I agree. I
agree with that.
Yeah. I think what I get, it's kind of like it felt, because the whole setup of when she's asking her, "Oh, you want to come to dinner?" and when they're meeting, they're not friends per se.
Yeah.
So it feels awkward.
I agree with that. That is thank you for bringing that up. So the other two girls, you get the vibe that they're newer, like that they don't know, like because I think she introduces her to her parents, so it's not like they were friends, but there's more of an established connection in the original film. Definitely. This movie, you get the sense Shawnee Smith is the new girl in school.
She's the new girl, yeah.
And this other girl, she just kind of randomly out of like at the locker room, like want to have dinner at my house. It's like this very like awkward, and she's an awkward person. Like the character's supposed to be awkward, but it just feels weirdly out of place. Like if they had been assigned to it's like a science project they had to do together or something that would have required them to be together. That would have made more sense to me than the way it played.
I think that's kind of. I mean, thinking about it a little bit, that might be why the acting felt a little bit maybe off.
Yeah,
because of the whole awkwardness and because there's some long ass pauses between when they're talking. But then again, if they're what were her and the Tammy Lawrence character, Lisa Harris, she didn't really want to be there. She just wanted to be there because she could lure her boyfriend out there so she could spend time.
Who literally looked about 8 years older than her.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's her college boyfriend that was hanging out at the high school.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I don't know. It's not a bad movie. It's a good movie, and I thought it when we got to the last 20-25 minutes of it, that's when it really picked up for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
by the way, my sister in high school had a car. It was the Datsun 280Z or whatever it is.
Okay.
And she was driving it, and it literally she had to pull over in a community college parking lot, and it like just burst into flames. She luckily had gotten out, but she thought it was like smoking or something, and she got out, and like when they lifted the hood, it was just like on fire. I don't know what the heck was up with that car. Thankfully, she got out. So the whole thing where he goes like over the little hill and it just explodes. I'm like, actually, I buy that. I buy that. That car might do that. He was
abusing that little car because he
was giving it hell. He was really going. So
poor Meredith.
I would say for anyone out there, definitely watch both versions of this movie. They are both very much fun.
It's a fun way to. I mean, they're both good movies, and it's fun to kind of compare. And there's actually a lot of things that are exactly the same, like when the door slams and they can't get out and all that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to watch them both and compare them to each other and see the switcheroos they've kind of done, and also with the parents and the fact that in the old one, the Lisa character is it's her dad, and in this one it's her mom. So
yes.
So
I will say,
like to compare it.
We're not like technically calling this a remake because it's coming from the book.
It's basically the same source.
But of William Castle movies that there's a more recent contemporary version of, although I was saying contemporary 20 years ago, this actually has the most in common with the original William Castle movie than I would say the 13 Ghosts remake or House on Haunted Hill. And that's not to knock those movies because I don't think they're masterpieces, but I think those remakes are fun. I think it's a good time. But it's interesting that this made for TV movie just has way more beat for beat in common with the 65 William Castle version.
Peter's doing his impression of that horrifying it was like an
old lady. I love that so much. I love that.
It is so creepy.
It's first time I watched that, I almost peed myself watching that. It's
creepy, dude. That's a creepy moment. Yeah. All right. So then on that note, before we lose power again or anything else, what would be our next pick?
Hang on.
Should I tempt fate and come back on here? Let's see what happens. Am I normal?
Well,
am I normal? Well,
let's define normal, Joel.
All right, let me rephrase. Is the image seem to be okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to show you the list. So this is the new fangled list, the new master list.
I like newfangled list.
Yeah, I bet you did. So there is. So we get to pick, or you get to pick between. Oh, look! I've added a movie. So it's 1 through 58.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's gonna be a bummer to try to keep up with, but we'll do it.
No.
Are we calling this season 5, or we just?
Off?
I've written Turn the 2 season 5 on it.
Okay. But we're gonna basically season 5 is the.
This is the new.
So season 5, the final season, is just gonna have 58 episodes in it.
Yes.
The final season.
If we can't find more,
it goes for 4 years.
Exactly. A 4-year season. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe what we do, we could do, or every 10 movies, we do a bonus and we quote unquote start a new season, but we're just going to continue the numbers. We'll only have whatever numbers left we got left. Does that make sense? So if we pick 14, 20, 3, 3, and those are all in season 5. Once we get up to 10, and then we'll do our bonus, just like we've been doing, and then we'll do a season 6 and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Oh, so you want me to start a bonus list with movies that are not on this list?
Bonus, like we talked, like that's what we just did. If one comes along, like Duel, we talked about doing Duel. We talked about doing what's the one, Fred Ward? That was an HBO movie. I always forget. To Cast a Deadly Spell, right? That was it. Well, it's like that.
Most of those are on the list.
Well, but they're not. Are they going to be picked?
They're on the list.
They should be bonus. Those should be bonuses. To be fair.
But since we talked about it and we bunched all of it together, all of the movies are there.
Well, I mean, we can figure that out later since we're far away.
I'm just saying it's a good way to kind of chunk things together with the whole season. But I also get like doing 68 or 58 movies and just not. It's fine, dude. Don't worry about it. I don't want to mess up what you've done. Again.
No, we should just
don't split it up. You don't need to split it up. All you got to do, I would say,
and then we can.
I'm of the opinion.
I get what you mean.
I'm of the opinion. Do not put I wouldn't have included on that list, quite frankly, Duel, to catch it. If you know that. Especially if you know I know it well enough. I feel like Allyson, no offense, Allyson, I hope you don't throw away, but she's seen a lot of the movies.
Let's do it this way.
So, okay, here's. Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, do it.
Real quick. How about we keep it as it is? After we've done about 10 episodes, if there's something someone's like, I know of a movie.
Yes.
And I would really like to talk about it. We pick that and then we cross it off the list if it's on the list.
That's a good way to be. This is why Alice is here, so the children don't fight.
Because then we can
haven't picked. Yeah, and if Duel doesn't come up in the first 10 episodes, good. It's one of the. I mean,
and you
that's
were like,
the way to do
really want to talk about Duel. I'm really in the mood to talk about Duel. Then Peter can just find it and cross it off.
Yeah, one less.
I don't have to find it. It's right there.
Okay, well, don't tell us what number it is.
No, I'm not going to
Joel
tell
will
you
pick
the number.
it.
Yeah, number. Okay. All right. So season 5, 1 through 58.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to. I'm gonna definitely have to keep track of this. Who's going? Allyson, did you?
This is actually what we did is at the start of when we started this show, we had a list of about, I don't know, 24, 25 movies, and then it just expanded, and we made it all fangled with seasons.
But we've done about, I think we have, I mean, it's not every season this way, but usually it's about 10, and then we do a bonus.
Yeah, I think 11 was where we did
Or
11. And then we
11. You're right. It is 11 on all but, no, they're all 11. Actually, the first season we went up to 13. Is that right?
Well, we were babies. When
That's right. I also had 25 because you're right, because that original list was like 20, and then we decided, okay, never mind. Forget what I said. So, Allyson, do you want to
pick already?
Allyson, do you want to pick the first movie of the new season?
Boy.
Let's do
1 through 58.
23.
Oh, okay. And I'm going to make a note that you pick, so I don't have to always ask.
Oh,
that's a good idea because I never remember.
Yeah, I'm never going to remember
either. Let's see, 23. Okay, it's from 1983. Okay, it's called Deadly Lessons.
Deadly Lessons. It doesn't star Lucci, does it?
Watch it, Will.
I don't
All right, cool. 23. Excellent. All right, so Deadly Lessons. Those out there, see if you can find on the YouTubes. I have no idea if it's available. We'll see.
I mean, I've found most of these, like 98% of them on YouTube. So they
so there you go. Yeah. Cool. So, awesome. All right. Well, then in the meantime, Allyson, where can they find you at a local art fair, art show, market thing?
By the time you post this, it'll be over because
probably. Probably.
It's in like 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find me here. You can find me on a boat with a goat. No,
I was thinking this. You can find you here. You can find you there.
You can find me. Let's see. If you want to follow me on Letterboxd, I'm Horror Unicorn on Letterboxd. I post spooky stuff on Instagram under Clark Memorial Gardens, and you can hear old episodes of my old podcast, The Haunted Davenport, at thehaunteddavenport.com or wherever you like to listen to your podcasts.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Peter.
You can find him here. You can find him there. That's damned elusive Scarlet Pimpernel or whatever the hell that poem goes.
I think we were doing green eggs and ham.
Yeah, I was definitely like.
No, I know, but I was thinking the Scarlet. I was thinking Scarlet Pimpernel because I'm.
That, by the way, would be the difference between
Clementine.
The difference between a European education and an American education.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
he's
watching
quoting
newer
the Scarlet Pimpernel. Yeah, Scarlet Pimpernel. We're quoting Dr. Seuss. All right,
Peter, like green eggs and ham.
Yes.
Where?
Well, they can find me here, or they can find me on. Yeah, and more than you on this episode, actually.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, or on Retro Movie Geek, which is on kind of like a hiatus.
Well, now it's shifting. It's shifting. Yeah. It's now Retro Movie Geek presents Retro TV Talk with Darrell and Peter, and on the rare occasion, Joel.
Or for short, Retro TV Geeks.
Or that one, yeah. Whatever it's called.
Are you going to join us for the first one then?
Probably not. When are you doing it?
I have no idea. I think in a week or two, I think. It's
I feel like it would be hilarious after all of that. And I'm like, I'm there. I'm just there every time.
I mean,
I was like, son of a...
Yeah, I'm not going to say here on this show what movie, what series we're covering because I already told you online. So if you want to join us, you're
It is one that I would be very inclined to be there for if possible.
Yeah. So ask Darrell when he wants to do it, and then you can.
I just got the entire series of that particular thing on like the box set, sealed, everything on eBay. Now it's DVD, not Blu-ray, but I don't really give a crap. And it was like a really nice box set. It came with like a comic book, the whole nine. It was like $30. It's like $30. I was like, sweet. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Was that like on eBay or something?
Yes. I'll send you the link.
So cheap.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Maybe 30 something, but it was not like $100 or anything like that. It was actually reasonable.
No, I got
only I could find Dark Shadows that way.
Yeah, but that's a lot of shows.
I still want the coffin shaped
the coffin
box.
set. Yes,
yeah, but you have the
like
on the back of the DVDs. Yeah, with the back of the DVDs form the vampire. Yeah, I want that.
It looks so good.
So
if there's any rich benefactors out there, yes. Peter and I would each like a set.
Yes.
Dark Shadows, the complete series, not the 90s version.
Nope.
All right, Peter.
Yeah, so we're find me here or Retro Movie Geek, Retro TV Geek, or on Letterboxd or Instagram, or sometimes on Hugh and I are planning on doing something over the summer too. So I may pop on that Wookiee too.
Nice.
So yeah, and then you, Joel.
I'm right here. Yeah. So yes, I can be found obviously here, not currently on Retro Movie Geek, but old episodes. Let's see. We've got Jay the Dead's new horror movies, and we recently covered the 88. You're caught up on?
Listen, the 100th episode was 7 hours long.
Hey, don't blame me. Blame the editor.
More than a week.
That's not the longest episode they've had, though.
No, I know.
No, it's not. We just did the Blob. I don't know when that was one of our Bure reviews. So I don't know when that's coming out, but that was a lot of fun.
You should pick that book up. That sounds like a good book.
Oh, they are actually. Yeah. Well, Jay, like when he decided to do the show, he sent all of us. And it was like this gift. He sent me all of them. He sent me the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s one. He has like 5 friggin' books. Like out of nowhere, I was like, "What? That's sweet, and cool. Thanks, man."
They are slightly pricey too. So
yeah, they ain't cheap. I was like, "What? Did you win the lottery?" it's like buying them for everybody who's gonna be on the show. But of course, I say that now. You probably only bought them for like the first few of us, and like all the other guys are like, "Hey, what? Oops. I never got any book."
That was before there were 15 hosts.
Yeah, he's like, never mind. that was a great idea when there was 3 people. Now that there's 9.
And that's when people wrote, Peter, I want to be a host too.
Yeah, can I be a host too? Everyone should be a host just so they get to the books. So check us out there.
No other reason.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, if you're watching the video version, I didn't realize at the beginning I didn't say this. The audio version of this was probably far less affected, but although I don't know, people listening are like, "Oh, good Lord, man." The video version of this show can be found on Mom and Pop Video Shop, where we have all kinds of good stuff. And every Monday we have a retro movie review that comes out. And I believe that as we record this, we just had King Kong Lives. And
yes,
I think our next one is Dr. Giggles, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I think it is. And then
you're all blobby, Joel.
Of course it is. And we've had some cool interviews recently. Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, the image is
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just the image is
okay. All right.
It's a little blurry.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to this. So I recently not super recently, but recently we interviewed J.R. Bookwalter, who did The Dead Next Door and Ozone, and is like one of those guys that I read when I was growing up. I read about in Fango, and so it was really cool. And he's a super sweet guy. So we got to talk to him about his new movie, Side Effects May Vary. And recently, and as this drops, it probably will. I know it'll already have dropped. I just did an interview with Brad Sykes, who is a filmmaker out of LA, who has done quite a few movies, including the SOV classic starring Linnea Quigley, Scream Queen, which Visual Vengeance just released a Blu-ray of within the last year or so, which is really cool. And he also did a movie called Camp Blood and Death Factory, and he's been involved with a lot of other movies. That Mom and Pop documentary that came out, the Mom and Pop, the video store boom of the 80s and 90s, he helped produce that. So really, really cool guy. Knows a lot about movies. He's known a lot of people.
Name bell.
And we brought you up briefly, Peter, because he wrote he wrote books that I actually just recently picked up from him. One's called Terror in the West, and it's all about horror and thriller films set in the American Southwest. So there's and so I wanted to mention to him if he had covered Night Terror, right? So we got talking about, he started mentioning other made for TV movies that were also in his book. And I said, Peter's not going to be happy. I'm like looking up as we're talking. I'm like, I'm probably not supposed to know about these because these are totally the kind of movie. They're like, one was from like 74 and starred Cloris Leachman, I think, and somebody else famous.
It's on here probably.
It probably. That's what I thought. I said, oh, Peter's going to be mad.
Leachman movies here. So yeah.
Well, we did one already.
Oh yeah, but there are more.
Yeah, but that wasn't. Yeah. That wasn't that one. It was something called.
Oh, and the murder case one too. What was that?
Yeah, this one was called. It was like kind of. I think it was people at a motel.
Yeah,
something. Diane is in the title, and I can't remember. I have to look it up. It doesn't matter. Point is,
you're not going to look it up.
Oh, remember that. Oh, you're right. I'm not. I'm actually good enough. See, yeah, I kind of forgot it already. So there we go. I'll be good.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
But I am going to read his book, so I probably will have like some pre-spoiling on some of those.
Yeah, well.
That sounds like a fun book, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He also did one. The newest one he did is called Neon Nightmares, and it's all about like the LA-based thrillers of all the 80s, like from 1980 to 89.
Seen that one.
Yeah, I think Vinegar Syndrome, I think, is one of the ones that I think is the one that put it out, I believe. I'm hopefully not completely talking on my butt on that one. So yeah, cool guy, really awesome guy, had really cool stories, and I hope to have him on the show again. But yeah, so check all of that out on Mom and Pop Video Shop, and be sure to subscribe because you can't see what I'm doing, but I hold up the index and the thumb to make little tiny. We are this close to 500 subscribers. We're so close. Yeah. Nice. So. I mean, it's still a tiny channel, but it's kind of cool to kind of hit that 500 number and on our way to 1,000.
Slowly growing.
Slowly growing. Yeah. So anyway, check all that out. And then I guess, unless you guys have anything else you want to add, I think we can wrap this bad boy up. And remember, until next time, when it's late at night and you can't sleep, you might find yourself flipping through the channels. And if you do, beware, because you never know when you just might stumble across terror on the tube.
No sound, damn it. There you go. Messed it up.
Spooky bottles.